Hi, I'm Jyoti Gopalan. If this is your first time here, this is Strategic TA and we are on day 2. Yesterday, I told you why this series exists and what the next 21 days look like. Today, we start where every single hire actually starts, whether your organization has ever written it down or not, the hiring life cycle. Now let's name the 6 stages. Every hire moves through these 6 stages. Number 1, intake with the hiring manager, sourcing, screening, interviewing, offer and negotiation, onboarding. Say those 6 out loud and they almost sound so obvious. But most recruiters, if you actually watch how they spend the week, are excellent at 2 or 3 of these and quietly weak on the rest without ever being told so directly. Now, why naming the stages changes anything at all? It matters because you cannot deliberately improve a stage you have never named as a distinct stage in the first place. Most recruiters experience hiring as one continuous blur of activities rather than 6 distinct skills, each with its own separate craft to get better at it. The moment you name them, you can ask a sharper question. Which of these 6 specific skills am I actually weakest in right now this quarter? Here's a real example of the chain breaking. A hiring manager tells you in a rush 5-minute intake call that they need a strong product manager. You source aggressively, you find sharp candidates and run tight interviews. 3 weeks in, the hiring manager rejects every single profile shared. So what I actually needed was someone specifically strong in pricing strategy, a detail that never came up even once in the rush 5-minute call. The sourcing, the screening, interviewing were excellent, but none of that mattered because the very stage in the chain was weak. Now, intake is not a formality, it's a blueprint every other stage is built upon. A weak blueprint means a beautiful house built in an entirely wrong location or with a very wrong foundation. Now let's quickly jump onto a second example. The strong intake call. Contrast that with an intake where the recruiter asks 3 specific follow-up questions. What does this person need to have accomplished by the end of this first quarter? What has gone wrong with similar hires in the past? What would make you say no to a technically qualified candidate? Those 3 questions alone usually surface the real requirement hiding underneath the generic job title. Now, let's get into a simple framework to find your own weak stage. Take your last 3 hires and write down all 6 stages next to each other. For each stage, mark it adequate, strong, weak. And let's do an honest assessment based on actually how it went. Most people find the exact same 1 or 2 stages showing up as weak across all 3 hiring attempts. That repeated pattern points to an actual skill gap. Now, how does this show up differently depending on seniority? If you're somebody who's actually hiring for early careers, these frameworks help you honestly locate your biggest skill gap instead of guessing. And if you're a senior recruiter or a TA lead, this becomes a coaching tool, a shared vocabulary you can use with a junior recruiter to specifically point out to a stage which needs their attention this quarter, rather than giving a vague feedback like you got to be more thorough. Now, this turns an uncomfortable performance conversation into a specific feedback. A quick self-check you can run today. For each stage, ask yourself one honest question. Number 1, intake. Do I usually get the real business reason or just the job description? Number 2, sourcing. Am I building genuinely tailored searches or am I using the same approach, reusing and using every time? Number 3, screening. Do I have a return criteria or am I deciding as I go into sourcing? Number 4, interviewing. Are my questions specific and evidence-based or is it fairly generic? Number 5, offer and negotiation. Do I lead these conversations with confidence or does anxiety creep in? Number 6, onboarding. Do I know actually what happens to my hires in the first 90 days? Answer them honestly, not diplomatically. The stage where your honest answer felt worse to admit out loud is almost certain your real answer to today's mapping exercise. Of all the 6 stages, weaknesses in intake tend to compound the most silently. When a search goes wrong, people blame slow sourcing or difficult hiring matches. The actual root cause is something else. 5 rush minutes at the very first start is almost never the first place anyone looks into to diagnose what the problem was. And honestly, this is exactly the gap that I built the strategic talent acquisition cohort to close. For 15 years working with global leaders, I watched the same pattern play out. A rushed intake quietly wrecking an otherwise excellent sourcing, excellent search, and almost nobody connecting the dots. I was part of over 500 hiring decisions in that time. And if I'm being honest, some of my own early mistakes trace back to exactly this. A 5-minute conversation I did not take seriously enough. That's the reason my strategic talent acquisition program exists, not to teach recruiting in an abstract manner, but to sit with a small group of people, work thorough, together live whether the foundation underneath their actual open searches is solid or not. Cohort 2.0 opens this August 1st, 10 Saturdays. So this is kept deliberately small so this stays real mentorship, not a webinar you watch halfway with your camera off. We go to the same modules this channel is built on: foundations, sourcing, advanced sourcing, AI in talent acquisition, assessment, stakeholder management, and everything live. And the best part, AI is baked in at every stage of this flow, with real feedback with your own hiring decisions, not a hypothetical example. Just to let you know, a small example where you can actually feed in your own job description to AI, and it now not just prepares you thorough with your intake discussion, but can also flag of questions you can ask your hiring managers, which otherwise would surface at a later point in maybe week 3 or week 4 of your sourcing. So if today's session made you a little uncomfortable, and if you already suspect the current search of yours has a rushed intake, let that discomfort stay in, honestly. And that's exactly what we work through together in the cohort. So 25 seats, once they are done, the next one is likely months away. You can find more details in the description page of this post.